Hi everyone, this is Esme. I come here and I share my journey of faith. Thanks for joining me. So I was going to reference back to a story I did probably a couple of weeks ago. I was talking about the Amalekites because I'm currently in the book of 1 Samuel. And I had read in 1 Samuel 15 where it was now time to mete out justice on the Amalekites. And that's because of what they had done to the Israelites when they were leaving Egypt. And they had preyed on the weak. They had preyed on the mothers, the children, the maimed, those who lagged behind as the children of Israel after having crossed over the Red Sea. And now they were beginning their odyssey in the wilderness, and the Amalekites attacked them unprovoked for no reason at all. God does not like dirty, he doesn't like ugly, he doesn't like a fight that's not fair. So God noted that. And now all these years later, God was instructing Israel under the leadership of Saul to go on the attack, to finish them off. In fact, let me read it. It was quite ruthless. God is merciful, but here's reasons for everything he does, whether we get it or not. It says, now go, this is 1 Samuel 15, verse 3. Now go and attack Amalek and utterly destroy all that they have and do not spare them, but kill both man and woman, infant and nursing child, ox and sheep, camel and donkey. So that was the instruction to go and kill off everyone who had attacked the vulnerable during their journey. So we did look at that a couple of weeks ago. Today I wanted to look at the next verse. Then Saul said to the Kenites, this is verse 6, go, depart, get down from among the Amalekites, lest I destroy you with them. For you showed kindness to all the children of Israel when they came up out of Egypt. And so the Kenites departed from among the Amalekites. And Saul attacked the Amalekites from Havilah all the way to Shur, which is east of Egypt. And so today I wanted to look at the Kenites and wondered, why were they spared? What exactly was the kindness that they showed to the children of Israel that they were spared from this massacre, to be honest? So I went digging in the Bible for answers. First of all, when we look at their origin, the Kenites descended from Cain. And the word Cain means a metal worker or a smith. They're traditionally associated with Midian, so their history is intertwined with that of the Midianites. So the Midianite connection comes from the fact that Midian was actually a child of Abraham and Keturah. I think we all remember after Sarah died, Abraham married another wife. Her name was Keturah. And this is in Genesis 25, verse 1 and 2. It reads, Abraham took another wife, whose name was Keturah. She bore him Zemram, Jokshan, Medan, Midian, Ishbak, and Shua. As for Jethro, we find him in Exodus chapter 2, verse 18, where sometimes he goes by the name Reuel. We see that he was a priest of the Midian and a direct descendant of Midian. Because he was a priest, it probably means he had a prominent role of leadership within the community, and he was likely a patriarch of the Kenite clan. As for his children, he birthed Zipporah, who became the wife of Moses in Exodus 2:21. And then we also find that he had a son. It's debatable, but he had a son called Hobab, mentioned in Numbers 10:29. So that was either a son or a very close male relative. So we can see that the Kenites are associated with Israel through their relationship with Moses. We see in Numbers 10:29 that Moses invited Hobab, the son of Jethro, to come along and join Israel's journey, promising that they would all share in God's blessings. So over time, the Kenites integrated with Israel, but they managed to maintain their distinct identity. And we know this because when we read Judges 1:16, it reads, the descendants of Moses' father-in-law, the Kenites, went up from the city of palms with the people of Judah to live among the inhabitants of the desert of Judah. So they did intertwine, but they still maintained a separate identity. We see also in Judges 4:11, it says, Heber the Kenite separated from the rest of his clan and played a role in Israel's victory over Sisera. And this is in Judges 4, verse 21. That's where we see the victory. So to trace their lineage, we start with Abraham. After Sarah died, married Keturah. They got sons. Amongst them was Midian. And then we see Jethro, and Jethro was a priest, a Midianite priest. Another word for them is Kenite. We see that he had a daughter, Zipporah, and Zipporah became a wife to Moses. From their legacy, we see that they maintained a positive relationship with Israel, supportive, living amongst each other peacefully. And their identity as skilled metal workers and nomadic allies of Israel persisted throughout the Old Testament. So what kindness is this that they showed? According to 1 Samuel 15, they had showed kindness to the Israelites, and now they were to be spared, now that it was time for God's holy retribution to the Amalekites, who had been quite the opposite, who had been unkind and even attacked Israel unprovoked. In Exodus 18, we see that Jethro brings Moses' wife Zipporah and their children and their sons to rejoin Moses. This is around the time when Moses, along with the Israelites, were encamped in the wilderness. That was an act of kindness, to bring your daughter, Moses' wife, and the sons to come to the wilderness to visit, to say hello. That is kindness. It's amazing to see that God really puts weight on hospitality, because in the great scheme of things, it doesn't seem to make a difference. And yet this is something that warrants them being spared. This is something that warrants highlighting, that a father would bring a daughter and his grandchildren to see their father who is camped out in the wilderness by God's mandate. And then we also see in Exodus 18 verse 9 to 12, where Jethro is praising God for bringing Israel out of Egypt, out of captivity. Again, that shows that he had tender feelings towards them. And of course, he had every reason to, because his daughter, after all, was married to Moses. So he followed keenly the affairs of what was going on in Israel. He knew when Moses went to ask Pharaoh to let my people go. So he had been in the family. He knew all of these things, but he wasn't apathetical to what was going on. He was tuned in, he was tapped in, he was connected, and he was physically, actively doing whatever was within his power to make that an easy transition. So when the children of God actually left Egypt, Jethro was one of the people to praise God about that, to congratulate Moses and to praise God. The people of Israel were now free out of Egypt, and even went as far as making sacrifices. Let's just read it. It's probably easier. Exodus 18, 9 to 12. Then Jethro rejoiced for all the good which the Lord had done for Israel, whom he had delivered out of the hand of the Egyptian. And Jethro said, Blessed be the Lord, who has delivered you out of the hand of the Egyptian and out of the hand of Pharaoh, and who has delivered the people from under the hand of the Egyptians. Now I know that the Lord is greater than all the gods, for in the very thing in which they behaved proudly, he was above them. Then Jethro, Moses' father-in-law, took a burnt offering and other sacrifices to offer to God. So he did participate to the extent of even offering sacrifices. He acknowledged the greatness of the God of Israel over all the other gods. And then we also see in that same chapter, 13 to 28, Exodus 18, that he gave advice to Moses. This is when Moses was overwhelmed all day long, solving petty cases, I think. And Jethro was able to say, this is not how you do it, son. So he gave him wise counsel on how to manage the people by delegating leadership responsibilities, thereby reducing Moses' burden. This advice helped to establish a more efficient system of governance for Israel. And again, when we read Numbers 10, we see Moses inviting Hobab to come along and partake in the blessings of God for Israel. This is exactly what Moses told him. We are setting out for the place about which the Lord said, I will give it to you. Come with us and we will treat you well, for the Lord has promised good things to Israel. Now, it's not really stated that he agreed or he didn't, but later on in the history, we can see that he did agree because they were together and that they did end up living amongst each other. So it just goes to show that God honors kindness. We can see the Amalekites, they were destroyed. The Kenites were spared. Because they all lived amongst each other, Saul went on to say, separate yourselves so that you're not destroyed as we destroy these ones. And because of that, they were saved. In terms of application, it just goes to help us to realize that nothing is too small for God. He keeps a record of everything that we do. He sees the good deeds that we do. He sees when we're trying. It's so easy to imagine that small little kindness doesn't count. But then when we see the things that caused the Kenites to be spared, it's nothing major. It's not that they fought a great war. It's nothing major. It really comes down to encouragement. It comes down to assistance. It comes down to celebrating during the exodus from Egypt. It's small acts of kindness, and that was enough for them to be spared. It really shows us that nothing goes wasted with God. He watches everything. He sees everything that we do, and he watches over the state of our heart. He knows when we're happy, when something good happens to our neighbor. He knows when we're happy. He knows when we celebrate. He knows when we're united, and that counts for something in his world. Okay, bye.